Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. I have withdrawn to the farthest corner of the roof from the construction site because they have a lot of machine noise there. So I hope it will be fine. Unfortunately, the light is not ideal, but it's better than to have too much noise all the time. Repeatedly, I have been talking about what the struggle that is going on between light and dark forces, and that it is always important to open towards the light, but in this period it is even much more important. It's like the two sides are so willing to help, to support. And the moment we are opening to negativity, it's like a force comes in that supports that and makes it worse. And the moment we are really opening up to harmony, to beauty, to the joyousness of existence, there also it comes in strongly. Now, sometimes knowledgeable people, they tell me, but what we are looking for is beyond light and darkness, and thereby indicating then what's the point? Why should we be busy with opening up towards harmony, towards light, if we want to go beyond it? Intellectually, this may sound quite reasonable, but of course, it's wrong to think like this. I totally agree that unspeakable essence is prior to light and darkness, prior to any polarity. But the consciousness that is busy with manifestation is involved in polarity. There is positive and negative. And if the consciousness is focused on negativity, on darkness, it is contracting. And it's a non-natural movement for consciousness. The natural movement of consciousness is to expand. If you leave it in peace, it becomes expansive and more expansive and ever more expansive. And from that position, if we are opening up to harmony, to beauty, to joyousness, if we open up to the essence that is prior to light and darkness, if we open up to the light, then from there is the possibility that we are going beyond, because there is basically peace, there is harmony. If we fix the attention on the negativity, then the consciousness is contracting. And when contracting, there's always pain, there is always suffering. And from that position, that feeling of that sense of separation becomes stronger. And it is very, very difficult from there to go beyond light and darkness, to come back to the essence that is prior to all that. So it makes totally sense to open up towards the light, even knowing that the essence is beyond that. It gives us a chance. It invites the possibility that the experience can shift to that essence which is absolutely not understandable, not describable. But even if that is not happening, on the way, if you open up to the light and the experience is becoming more expansive, it's always connected with joyousness. And then life is just more juicy, more joyous, more beautiful. We don't have to stop there. We still, from there, can keep that alertness and open to that which is prior. But it invites the chance that this is happening, that the experience shifts to that. But even if it is not happening, then the experience is joyous. Then we are in the flow of life. But if we hook into negativity, into hatred, into anger, into gloominess, into depression, then the experience is contracting and it's just painful. It's suffering. So be assured, even if the essence is beyond light and darkness, it makes totally sense to open up towards that joyous, harmonious, lightful, beautiful. There should not be a doubt about that. It has nothing to do with morality, some kind of religious moral rule. It simply makes totally sense. Like that we can avoid suffering. Like that we invite the possibility that that which is beyond will come in and take over. It's a way of talking. It's always here. It's never absent. But we can verify it by our own direct experience. And that can happen if you are already in that relaxed, peaceful, joyous mood. And the consciousness, the experience is expansive. So let us never doubt that it makes sense. And especially now, in this intensity there is, it makes sense, totally set. Okay, I leave the subject with that. I'm addressing you, my friend. Is there anyone who would like to come in and talk? You are welcome.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Nelly.
Yeah, I want to share something.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, last days I feel some enthusiasm in myself to meditate more hours. I feel this intention inside, and I support it. But yesterday I had a question in my head, and I couldn't make a decision what to do this way or that way, and it was not very serious, something serious, but I felt how my mind sticks to it.
Yeah.
Yes, it was so difficult for me, and I decided that I will meditate, and maybe I relax, and some decision will come to me, it will be open. And I sat, and I really sat very long, 3 hours I sat, and I didn't force myself, I just wanted to sit, but my mind couldn't calm down. Always I had these thoughts inside and arguments, or I should do this, or I don't need to do this. And when the time was over, 3 hours was enough for me to sit, I found out that I didn't come to the conclusion and didn't get to any calmness inside me.
Yes.
I felt some disappointment. I thought, and I sat 3 hours, and what it gave to me, maybe I spent this time not how to say,
not useful.
Not useful. Not useful, yes. But after that, I made a call to the woman who has a situation like me, something similar, and she helped me to come to the decision, and I relaxed after that. And now I felt that I want to go on sitting more than, and I go on it, but I still see how strong my mind reacts, and from one side I feel some progress in myself, because my body now allows me to sit more than 1 hour, because before I couldn't. It was not impossible. It was impossible. I had a lot of tension. Now I have this tension, but I can watch them and go on sitting. But my mind still very, very active, and it jumps from one thought to another, and bumps like a storm in the glass. Yes. That's why I wanted to share with you all these things.
Yes. Yeah. Well, what you are describing is the experience of many people. Sitting quietly, wanting to keep quiet, but then the mind has the tendency to go all over the place in spite of that. And especially then when something comes up and the mind is obsessing about finding the proper solution, the tendency is to slip into that all the time, and it goes on and on. Well, at least you are very much aware of it. It's not that you are not aware that it is happening. And that awareness is not very pleasant. You want to keep quiet and you cannot keep quiet. So it's not exactly the most pleasant of experiences. but it's not at all that the time is wasted. You have spent your time very useful, being very aware how the mind is working and not really wanting it, not really wanting this thought to come, but then seeing the habit is just so strong and push you again and again and again into that story, or if that story is not there, into other things. So don't you think that you're wasting your time when you are sitting like this? If in between you have moments where you can turn the attention back and it's quiet, then this is very precious, these moments. And then if it goes out again and blah, 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 things and things and things and things, then at least you see it, you are less involved. Just be careful that when you catch yourself to get all interested in what the thoughts are about, that then you detach from it and say, it's not important now. Let me just be here now, quiet. Shift the attention to that sense of presence, to that sense of being conscious, to that sense of being alive now, in one way or another. And even if it goes out again, then we come back again. That's the game. That's how it goes. It will get quieter and eventually it won't be a problem anymore. But as long as the habit is strong, and then even if we sit for a longer time, it may sometimes feel a bit frustrating that, oh, I want to keep quiet, and the mind goes on and one thought after the other about something or other. Just learn to distance yourself, that you are not in the midst of the thoughts and feeding that with being interested, but you watch them and detach more and more. And then they are not more fueled, and gradually it will calm down. It can also happen that after sitting for quite some time and the thoughts go round and round and round, and then suddenly it quiets down, and at least for some time you have peace. You know, I have spent years of sitting long, and I know very well what you are talking about. In the early years, there was not much peace, but then still I sat, but then somehow, at least in between, there were enough times of rest, of peace, that it kept me inspired to continue and to have just continued. That was the crucial factor, that finally that compulsion to keep on and on and on thinking stopped. So don't think that this time was not useful spent, even if it was not a so-called good meditation. It was still a useful time, for you were aware how the mind is working, and in that awareness, automatically one learns to detach more from that level.
Okay. Werner, yes, I see that these thoughts catch me a lot, and they seems to me so interesting.
Yes.
And difficult to attach. And I see that even if I don't have some question that I need to decide, or something, something that I not some thought, I find myself that I often speak with you and
Yeah.
and tell you, comment what is going on, what I watch, what I see. Yes, I have this monologue inside of me.
Yeah.
To share, and I see that I often, my mind talks again. Yeah. And what to deal with it?
You just don't think that it's a great good thing that it is happening, but you don't think that it's a bad thing that is happening. You just see it and detach more from it, and in that detachment you become aware, okay, this goes on. It seems to be interesting, but it's actually not very interesting. But there is something prior to that, there is an aspect in you that is not involved, that is totally at peace, at ease. The more you are then in that position that you are observing, the more you become aware, oh yeah, so the thoughts go on, the things go on, the perceptions go on, but prior to that, there's something else. If I can observe it, then it's clear. I'm not really these thoughts. These thoughts, they come, they go. But here, now, there's something else that is not involved, not affected. So it's not that that you should suppress that when this is happening, but you also should not support it by thinking, all right, it's a great thing of talking like this in the mind. Then okay, it's there again, let it happen. Just learn to withdraw the interest from that level and get interested in being consciously conscious, consciously alive now. And then gradually this calms down by itself.
Okay. Thank you very much, Werner. It's very helpful. Very helpful to hear this. Thank you.
Very good. You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Leora.
Hello.
I wonder what you spoke before about choosing between light and darkness, or choosing putting my awareness on the dark side or the light side, and you said something about it's not connected with morality.
Yes.
Why did you say that?
Because
Why
people,
should it be connected with? Yeah.
because people often have a bit an aversion if they are not very involved in a traditional religion. Then that is one point. Many people have an aversion, that they have the feeling the religions teachings, they are very moralistic, but then it's something has a negative taste, that the feeling that it's moralistic. It's has nothing to do with that. It has to do that we are using our capacities, our vital force, our consciousness, our love in the best way, in the way that makes the most amount of sense. Like people, religious teachers, often they are very condemning about certain things, how people behave, what they are doing. And then it's becoming very moralistic, and the sense why it makes sense to open up in the right direction is a bit lost. Then it's more like imposing a dogma, that trying to tell people, oh, you have to be good, otherwise you are going to be punished.
Mm. Okay, that's interesting. And then I also wanted to ask, when I make the choice, it's like from the like relative state, or I don't know exactly the word of the awareness, as if I have there is a situation, let's say, and I have the possibility to go around and complain about it, or I have the possibility to remain maybe with a distance, or even I'm not sure, sometimes they're not positive, maybe things that I can see about it, but maybe just somehow relax about it. Maybe that's already, in some situations, can be the light, just to relax about situations. So what I'm trying to say is that there is this action of choosing sometimes, which is kind of can be maybe also intellectual, or but the state of actually being beyond light and dark is, of course, let's say, less intellectual and less a state of choosing.
Right. It's
Yeah.
something that we can do to shift our experience on that level. What we can do is make ourselves available, and we make ourselves available by choosing the light. And yes, there is, you said it's sometimes like choosing, and in a way you are totally right, that from moment to moment that choice is there. Am I opening to the positive or to the negative? Am I opening to life or towards destruction? Am I opening to joyousness or to suffering? And it's there in the smallest things of our daily life. Every little act of kindness is definitely an opening up towards the light. But not only the external acts of kindness, but also when you feel in yourself that pull to be pulled into self-pity, into depression, or you see the possibility of not doing so, then it's an act of kindness towards yourself, of choosing the expansive, the positive, and it will make you more alive and more joyous.
Yeah. Yeah, specifically for me, what helps is being grateful, like putting the emphasis on like when I was in the hospital this week, and like for many hours being there and going through the process of this surgery. And what really helped me was being grateful to the doctor, to the nurses, and also maybe very like kind and friendly with for the people that sat with me, towards the people that sat with me around, because everybody's kind of closed up in their fears or suffering. Yeah. And then I always, I start a conversation with somebody. Of course, not with everybody, but if it's possible. And yeah, so expressing gratefulness really helps me to make the shift. That's a sort of behavior that I have adopted. It's a kind of something I've taught myself to do. in situations that are unpleasant or strange or whatever.
Right, that's perfectly valid. Gratefulness is definitely a very efficient opening to turn towards the light. Different people have different openings that for them suit them better. Maybe for some people, to think too much of gratefulness is not appealing at all. Then there are other ways to open up. But if that comes to you easily and naturally, that's wonderful. Then you have really a wonderful way of seriously, really opening up towards the goodness.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for now. I have another question, but I have another question which is more complicated, so I'll see if I'll come again.
Better it's crystallizing enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you,
Okay.
Werner. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hario. Hario. Would anybody else like to say something? You're welcome.
Hi, Werner.
Hello, Andreas.
Hi. Could you talk a little bit about energy? For me, maybe in the context of when I meditate, I have little openings where I feel that I'm present and it feels pleasant, but it's only a split of a second, basically. And then my mind comes in, or sometimes I feel I'm not able to hold the energy or to open up more in a way. And yeah, maybe the problem is that I can't really open up more.
Yeah.
Okay.
You feel then when there is more energy, like there is something frightening about it, or what are you really saying?
No, it's not frightening. It's more that most of the times a thought comes in like, oh, this is good. This is the right way.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm present for like a split of a second, really there.
Yeah.
And yeah, then the mind comes in.
It starts to report about it, how good it is.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there is not a special way to open up towards energy. It's the same way to open up towards life, towards consciousness, to what you are anyhow doing. It's also opening towards energy, but it is an aspect in us, that habitual experience, that habitual personality, me. From that perspective, we are not happy, we are not fulfilled, and we are longing to go beyond it. But then at the same time, it's like something doesn't want to let go, because there is the fear of annihilation. Yeah. Yeah. Anyhow, disappearing. And then on one hand, that longing is there, and as soon as it comes, it's like there, from the personal level, defense mechanism. Who doesn't want really, who is aware, but if I'm staying with that, then the old experience may disappear, and there is something that wants to block it because it doesn't want to give up. So it's very normal that it comes, and then something, even a thought who starts to say, oh, it's quite something nice, tries to yank you out of it. But then when the thought comes and you see the thought, then just don't stick with it and don't fight it. And okay, yes, it's quite nice, and you just come back as good as you can.
Yeah, it's really like I didn't make it any further somehow. Like sometimes I can prolong this moment of presence for a little bit and open up, and then there's like light, but it's then there's no, I've never continued very long in this.
Well, it's also not within the power of your decision how long that it goes. You go about it as good as you can. And the tendency is that gradually these moments may come and stay longer. And sometimes they may come when you're not even trying, when you're not even meditating, then suddenly it's there, out of the blue. And then it goes again, and we think, what did I do wrong? Why is it gone? What have I again done? But just continue with what you are doing. And when there are moments like this, instead of kindling a frustration that they have gone again, rather have that sense of gratefulness. What Leora just talked about it. Gratefulness, thank you very much for that moment of grace. That helps you not to be in conflict with yourself that it has passed again. And invites in a much stronger way that it can come back than when we start to think about it. Why does it happen? Why have I slipped out again and struggle against the fact?
No, there's not much of that kind of struggle. It's just like, it comes very regular in my daily meditation.
Yeah.
But it's never deepening in any way or staying longer. That's the,
Right.
And I thought maybe about, like you said, like relax your legs. And my legs are never very much relaxed because I sit cross-legged and there's always a tension in them. I mean, I can relax them a little bit, but there's always a kind of tension staying there.
But it helps if you give the impulse again and again, and gradually they relax more. And actually, it's a very good way to help you to bring the attention back to the now. And if you give that impulse, then the rest of your manifestation also relaxes more, which gives the mind a chance to be also more relaxed. Energetically also, that you are more relaxed. For that, it's a very useful tool. But then if the mind comes in and says, okay, I give the impulse relax, and it doesn't feel relaxed, there we can again start a conflict and try not to go into that. But okay, I just give the impulse and gradually it's relaxing more.
No, I'm not very much bothered by conflict in my mind. It's just like, it just goes on. And I mean, the meditation and for a long time now, but it's not, I just thought maybe you have some advice of like.
You said it's not.
Have more energy or open up towards the energy more, or get
You said it's not really deepening, but actually, if this is happening again and again, gradually, it is deepening. Simply, it's such a gentle process that we are not aware of it when we are in the midst of it. But it's like gradually it's deepening and preparing that it can happen, that it stays longer without having any energetic negative reaction about it, that we are gradually becoming more and more capable of standing the increased clarity, the increased peace, the increased energy of those moments. So it is doing more than what we are aware of.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Hari Om.
Hari.
Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome. So let me just say to the same subject. Somehow I have, in the early years when I sat a lot, I have struggled a lot. One doesn't have to do it like this, but that's how I went about it. That was my character. Amma saw this, and so she very much encouraged me to really go for it, and to increase the whole thing. And often I thought, I'm struggling, and it's not going deeper. But whenever I try to complain about that towards Amma, she said, no. You may think like this. It appears for you like this, but you're not aware how things are changing, but I'm very much aware that things are changing. But somehow, often my feeling was I'm just standing on the same point and going round and round and round and round, but it was not true. Later, when I had more insight in the whole process, then I could see, yes, she was right, that continuously there was subtle shifts, subtle preparations that somehow prepared the possibility that really the experience can shift in a profound way and can stay with it, that it's not just becoming then a glimpse, but then it's becoming a new base. So even if we have periods, longer periods, where we think, oh, not much is happening, we are not getting anywhere, we are always staying in the same point, it's not true. If we consciously make attempts, something is happening, something is evolving. Essentially, we remain the same, but the experience keeps on evolving, preparing our manifestation, this psychophysical manifestation, getting it ready that it is capable of standing a stronger experience. Not a drop of energy that we put into that, not an effort, not a pain that we experienced on the way is in vain. Nothing of all that is for nothing. Everything is like harnessing something very precious and beautiful. And if we have the patience and the persistence to continue, then that being who goes through that at a certain point, we start to consciously reap the fruit of all that. And then look back and think, great that I stuck it out. Great that I went through all this. But we don't have to go about it like I went about it for a long time, trying to force things about. We can learn to be playful about it. And when that playfulness is there, then it doesn't look like a heavy burden, but then it's a joyous journey for the attention to come home to its divine birthright. to live in joy, to live in harmony, no matter what is happening. All right. I'm asking again. Would anybody like to come in? You're welcome.
So ask now. I'll try to ask the complicated question. Maybe it's not so complicated. Yeah, because it's somehow connected also to what you've just said. Some people say nowadays, like the new age or something, I'm not sure, but they say that we have the possibility to decide specifically. I'm talking now about the chronic situation, like health, like I have, for instance, that I have the possibility to decide that I don't need it anymore, that it has, this condition has a reason why it's here, and I can somehow work it out and make a decision that I don't need it anymore. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. So I until some months ago, I wouldn't really believe. I was told about other conditions that maybe this is what I should do. Just try to find out, try to inquire. Yeah, try to inquire. Why is it here? Why is it coming to my body, to my being? And through that inquiry, maybe I can decide that, yeah, that I don't need it any longer, that it's not necessary for my development, as you just said now. But
Right.
I just want to mention, to say that recently I've decided, I mean, really, really recently, but maybe I can do it. I don't know, but maybe I can. I took the decision that this is the last surgery, because it's enough. I've learned really. I've learned a lot, and it's really enough. Yeah.
Right. And you can very well decide like this and reinforce that decision, knowing that my conscious contribution to what is happening in my life is one aspect. And there are other aspects that are outside of my personal control. And my contribution, a positive input like this, often it may be enough to tip the scale, that the things may turn in another direction. But sometimes the other forces that are already on the way, they are stronger than my personal input. And then in spite of my decision like this or like that, things will turn differently. So if you do that, also keep there a playful mood. That doesn't mean not to be sincere about it. You can be very sincere and still light about it. Not a heavy decision, no, no, I decide it must be like this. And then if it's not exactly turning out like what I'm deciding, then I'm totally crushed. But we can, like this, more and more influence the situation, also the external situation, but it's good to be playful about it, and it's good to remember, okay, there's nothing wrong in doing that, but this is just more like a by the way aspect of the journey. What matters is much more that I learn to open up and connect with the essence than to influence the situation consciously. So I'm not saying at all you shouldn't do like this, but I'm also saying let's not get sidetracked and get obsessed with it. And especially you mentioned New Age. In the New Age movement, it has a bit the tendency that it becomes over important. That they, and if somebody is suffering, then sometimes they become very unfriendly with that person, saying you doing that to yourself, and make them feel guilty about it. And that's not the point of it. We can, especially also with the health, we can learn to connect with that aspect in us that is healthy, that is whole, and learn to let that health, that wholeness flow out more into our manifestation. But then, as I said, there are always forces there that are already somehow in motion that may be totally outside of our control, and they contribute that the present experience can manifest as it's happening right now. It's like they're coming influences from all directions, and my personal input is one of the forces. And the more I'm myself in harmony with myself, with my essence, the stronger this input becomes. But still, many times I may consciously bring something creative into a situation, but there are just so many other influences that it, in spite of that, turns in a different direction. And that's not the reason to feel guilty or do something wrong, or like then people who are totally absorbed with that influencing the external, they tell you don't really want, and stuff like that. So don't take that serious. Go about it, but be playful about it, and remember the most important aspect is to open up and connect with the essence. And the rest we can playful take along and sort of bring it along as a sideshow.
Yeah. Yeah, this is beautiful, really. Yeah, very touching. Thank you.
I'm very happy to hear.
Yeah,
Hari-Om.
very, yeah, thank you.
Hari-Om. Hari-Om.
Hari-Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in?
Werner?
Andreas, there you are again. Hello.
I hope it's okay. Because
It's okay.
It's the same subject. Like, what about like psychosomatic diseases? I'm
Yes.
very thankful for what you just said, because it really makes me mad if these new age people come to, and especially talk to people who have like psychosomatic diseases or cancer and say, you have chosen to give that to yourself. But I feel like I have, for example, chronic sinusitis, like with the problems with nose and mucus. And I felt it's kind of psychosomatic. It has to do something with my unconscious, frustration about something. I don't know really what, but I can't make it go away. Yeah, I have it's not a conscious decision that I have this. Yeah, by any means. It's just like expression of some kind of feeling like not connected and feeling isolated or something like that, I would assume. But it's not really in my reach to really influence that. Do you have anything to say about that?
Right. I mean, one way of handling it is just to accept, okay, it's there and not to worry about it. But you can also go about it to put a positive influence in it without getting obsessed with it, without thinking it has now to manifest. But you can sort of, like Leora just said, decide in yourself, actually, I don't need that anymore. May it heal. And that you give the impulse consciously that it heals. It may take its own time to heal, but at least you can consciously add an aspect that the possibility is getting more likely that it disappears. But that is the conscious contribution. From the subconscious. There are sometimes powerful decisions there of which we have absolutely no idea, and they take time to neutralize, but we can consciously neutralize them by giving the opposite energy in it. And as I said to Leora, keep a playful mood about it. But if you think it's not important, then you can also just leave it as it is and not worry about it. But without making it into an obsession, you can also give yourself that impulse consciously that it heals, that it goes away. It heals, it goes away.
What sometimes troubles me is when people say that it's a conscious decision or it's a decision. Sometimes I feel it's not a decision, it's just a byproduct of some kind of feeling isolated, for example.
Right. Decision, of course, is a special word, but we do make, while growing up, not quite aware that we make that. We make a lot of decisions, like maybe I have to be punished and feel isolated. Although you never consciously made such a decision, somewhere while growing up, the child may have made sort of some kind of a decision like that, but not a conscious decision. And then this kind of stuff that is put into the psyche early in the life, they have quite power. But we can not directly do anything about it, but we can consciously start to make the opposite decision and give in an opposite energy. Like, okay, something may influence you, wherever it's coming from, whether it's coming from your own subconscious that has formed while growing up as Andreas, or whether it's coming from beyond that somewhere, but there is an influence that keeps on, in your case, maintaining that synesitis. And you may start to consciously give in the influence. This is now not more necessary. It can heal now. It can go. And then eventually that influence may become stronger than the other influence that keeps it in place. I don't think that one has to try and dig and analyze and figure out where is it coming from, because it's a jungle and we can get totally lost in that. And we can start to imagine all kinds of things and think, now I know where it's coming from, but actually it's all imaginations that if suddenly in course of the process, something pops up by itself, whoop, and it clears up the situation. Oh, now I see totally connections, then that is totally fine. But that to dig and dig and dig in the dirt and try to find the origin of it is using up a lot of energy and most of the time not proving very fruitful. Rather deal with the experience and give it a positive energy into it, and then if it is necessary that more understanding about where it's coming from comes, then it's coming by itself. And many times that understanding is not even necessary, but stuff that bothers physically or emotionally or intellectually may just start to disappear, and then we don't worry about it anymore.
As a psychologist, I like this kind of digging in a way.
Right.
And I think I can find the right balance now. And at this point in my life, just by the outer events, I'm getting a lot of insights anyhow, because I had to deal with my mother. She got Alzheimer's disease, and with my uncle and her brother. And so I got a lot of insights just like naturally.
Yes. Right. I'm not saying anything against digging and analyzing, but also there, don't get obsessive about it with the idea, I have to find, otherwise I can never resolve a thing, because there we're going into a very difficult position.
I agree.
Yeah, good. That's great.
Thank you again.
You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to say something? You're welcome.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Dayal.
Since my last retreat, I improved my concentration. I now able to focus my attention on this nose area for some time, much better than before. And now I'm looking for balance between concentration and vipassana meditation, when I should observe the body sensations. Before I was most of time observing body sensations, but not really in balanced life. And now I concentrate on respiration, give it some time, and usually I do half an hour for concentration, observing respiration, and half an hour observing sensation, vipassana. And I'm not sure this is correct balance. Maybe should I give 1 hour, full hour for respiration, and next meditation more give attention to vipassana, to observe sensations, because a little bit here, a little bit there, not really work maybe, or so I just look in new balance after changing my experience. So maybe I can comment it somehow.
Yeah. Now you say, now what you are doing is like half-half, that you half the time you mainly focus and then half the time you mainly observe.
Yes.
Right. And do you feel good with that?
I feel that I have to improve my concentration even more, because I can concentrate, but maybe yes, maybe not, maybe still it's not perfect. So that's why I'm not sure. Maybe I should give it more attention to get some experience. For example, people talking about state of samadhi, experience of some vision. So, and after that, I can be working with sensations much more effectively. So this is my doubts. So
Yeah.
I'm not perfect in respiration, but before I was just unable to stay with my attention here. Now I can, and I can stay full hour, for example. It's not bringing me something special, but at least I concentrate and I'm really happy about it.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
situation.
Well, I'm not going to tell you to this or to that. It sounds to me quite good what you are doing, that you are doing half-half. But then don't so much try to figure out in your head what is the best thing to do, but listen to your heart. And listening to your heart means listen really to that feeling deep down. It's also a head thing then that you say, okay, now I can concentrate, so I should push myself to concentrate more because it will bring me more. It's not necessarily coming from your being, but just from the intellect, the calculating self, thinking I'm doing better business if I'm doing more concentration for a longer time. So relax and just go on. I think it's good what you're doing. If really from deep down that urge comes that you want to lengthen the time of concentration and reduce the time of simply observing your sensation, then it's fine. But simply because your head thinks, because intellectually you calculate it may be more beneficial and make it more out of it, it doesn't function that way. It's not the business we are here busy with. To be capable of be conscious and relaxed and just observe is connecting you very much also with the essence, not simply concentration.
Okay, I will try this, try that, and feel myself what is working more. So just new approach is needed.
Right, and feel it out for yourself. I don't have a better word for it than that's why I say feel it. But although it's not the feeling like the other feelings, but deep down, somehow we know what's best. So open up to that inner wisdom of yourself more than to your intellectual calculation. But just spontaneously, when you said you're doing half-half, it sounded very good to me.
Okay, we'll try. Thank
Yes.
you, Werner.
You're welcome.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to say something? Let me get once more into that what we discussed partly with Leora and with Andreas, that capacity to influence our circumstances, our life, the situations where we are. There are people who are very much into that and perfect gradually their ability to influence the situation. We can do that. We can bring a lot of energy into that. We can do affirmations, and it has an effect. We can develop that skill to do that better and better. Now, if somebody wants to do so and spend a lot of time and energy for that, be my guest. Then that's what they have to do. And then they may form their circumstances better and better to their liking. Now, these circumstances is exactly that. It's circumstances. They come, they go, they change. Once we get out of their life, we leave them all back. Even if we have learned to amass wealth, even if we have learned to improve our health, even if we have learned to somehow influence the situation in such a way that people like us better. Once we get out of this life, we leave it all back, and it doesn't matter anymore whether we have done that. That's why I'm saying once again, nothing wrong with giving consciously our impulses into the current of events, into the current of life, but remain conscious. What counts is that self-awareness, that awareness of that sense of presence, that awareness of being aware, that awareness of being alive, of connecting with the essence and opening the heart towards that. Actually, the situations have, the more we are doing this connecting consciously with the essence, the more the situations have the tendency to fall more and more in place. But sometimes it may also turn out into a difficult situation. It falls in place, but in such a way that we have the possibility to learn more about ourselves by facing a confrontation. We can try to smooth out difficulties in our life with all this influencing the situations, but sometimes difficulties are actually very helpful. So let's use that capacity of influencing the situations positively in a creative way, not in a way of me, I want things to be like this or want things to be like that. And me, I don't want this to happen, I don't want that to happen, but more as a general influence, okay. Open up to harmony and radiate harmony and let that harmony flow on that material level also. It makes it easier, but it doesn't prevent challenges from coming. But if we have basically such a positive attitude and radiate such a positive influence, then it will also be easier to deal with those challenges, in a way that we can deeper benefit from it. So that capacity is there to influence circumstances, but it's not important that we give a lot of time and energy into it, but we can do it simultaneously in a playful way that they come together. That being conscious, being consciously in the present, stay in the timelessness, be consciously connected with that sense of presence, and then playfully we can give the impulses to improve the situation in a joyous way. We can help in this way also radiate it out in the world, to send out a positive energy that helps, especially in the present struggle, a harmonious energy instead of, again, painful, strained energy that is there so much. Let's just keep the priorities, what really matters. Then we can play with it and playfully add something beautiful in the current, and then it's something very positive. But if one gets totally absorbed in that, then it's has the tendency to become more and more, oh, now this is not good, I have to change that. And this, I want more of this, and I have to change that. This aspect should not be there, so I have to remove that. And then being busy, always trying to change and adjust and adjust the circumstances, and forgetting about what matters. So then that use of that capacity to influence the circumstances is being misused, misplaced. Instead of helping us to be more self-conscious, that also can carry us away from it. But it need not be like this. If we are aware of it, if we are playful about it, if simultaneously with doing that, we connect with the essence, then it's a very beautiful thing that we can influence our health and give a positive influence into the circumstances, and in that way also inspiring others to open up more to harmony and joyousness. Just felt like adding that to that same subject we have been talking about. Would by now anybody else like to come in and say something? All right, then let's today again, like we did 2-3 times before, just spend a moment of making use of the energy that we have created together in this subtle space where we meet each other, to simply be with them. So best sit in a comfortable position. Then just be. Be consciously conscious. And if the thoughts come and want to run away after this subject, after that subject, when we see it, then we don't have to fight it. We don't have to do something about it. Just turn away the attention and come back to be here now. Breathe and relax. All kinds of sounds may come on this material level, disturb the silence, but we need not be disturbed. They come, they go, but I am here now. Consciously conscious, consciously present. Breathe and relax. It's always here. And when we after that start to get more active again, we still can connect with the simple being that is quite obvious and palpable right now. It's never absent. It's good to have moments like this where we are not doing anything else. But even if we're doing something else, we still can connect with that essence. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om.